Hey, so I'm going to jump right into this macro assessment. I like to do these 1 to 2 times a week. Usually I do them once a week just because there's other things that we touch base on together with during the week and that we do. But once a week, I like to go over a food log, and it's just so I can show you a few ways to tweak things and to rearrange some things and to maybe do a different portion of this and add in that. And it's always based off of what you're doing. I'm never just handing a meal plan over to where you feel like you have to buy like a million new things and foods that you don't like and follow a strict plan or something that's not normally like what you would eat. But at the end of the day, we're aiming at X amount of carbs, fats, and proteins in order to stay in your calorie range. And I want you to stay around 1,800 calories for right now. Pretty much your protein intake will always be the same. It's just if your calorie mark changes, then your carbs and fats will change in order to fluctuate that calorie bracket. But I want to do around 1,800 calories. You should be comfortably full without being overly full and super, super hungry. Like you should be content being in like a slight deficit, but being content. And that's if you're doing your workouts. So we want to basically simultaneously, build muscle and shed fat during this process, which will happen. I think if we hit around 1,800 calories, but of the right macros, because usually when people first start tracking their foods, they realize they are lower on protein and higher in carbs and fats. Specifically always in fats, people always go over. It's so easy to do that. So that's usually what I see. So this is how an opportunity, how I can show you how to switch things around and what is what. And even a lot of times on food logs, I'll label like the foods, like this is higher fat, this is a higher fat protein, this is a lean protein, this is a 0 fat carb, just to show you what your foods were, which helps a lot too. Okay, so let's jump right in. So I did this day, which was, it was 1,720 calories, but I rounded up to 1,800. And I rounded up because it's hard to get exactly like the portion sizes right. So if anything, I like to round up just so it's easier and probably more accurate. So your protein shake in the morning, so there's a long gap in between your breakfast and lunch time-wise from 9 to 3. And just so you're not super hungry by time you eat lunch, you're going to want a fuller, more balanced breakfast. So instead of having just like a lean protein, you're going to want to add some carbs and fats into that so you're fuller for longer and so you feel better. So because a lot of times if we go half the day with eating low calorie and not really having a lot of macros and food, we tend to eat more later through the day with lunch and dinner because our body's trying to catch up and we're like continuously hungry because we haven't really had a lot of food until half the day. So your body will definitely feel that way and tell you like, okay, I still need to eat more calories. I haven't ate much. And you'll probably be hungry shortly after you have your lunch because your body's trying to catch up. So with your breakfast, I suggest along, like in this case, you had a protein shake. You could have added in like 2 tablespoons of peanut butter and some fruit. And you could have added it in the shake or separately. You could have ate like the peanut butter and fruit, or you could have added it in the shake. But you would have been fuller for a lot longer and you would have been more fueled feeling. And you definitely, especially if you're doing your workouts, you're going to just maximize your results by eating a better, more balanced breakfast with more calories. And like I said, after that, your you're going to not want to eat so much for your lunch and dinner because your body won't be trying to catch up on calories. So if we would have added in the protein or the fats and carbs to your breakfast, obviously that would have been more calories. So you would have been closer to like, probably 400 calories, which is, it's great. That's totally fine for a breakfast. Especially if you don't eat until, the middle of the day, 3 o'clock. So one other thing I would have done, because you would have had a higher calorie breakfast, if you would have done that, the only thing I would have cut out is one of the sushi rolls. And I only say that because you could have added those calories from that sushi roll to your breakfast, but in place of one of the sushi rolls, you could have had everything else that you had, but the three pieces of the sushi roll, not a whole roll. Those 3 pieces, I would have substituted that for a bulk lean protein source. So a lot of times when I get sushi, I'll eat a sushi roll, but I'll also get like a side of shrimp, and which is a serving of shrimp. So I know I'm getting in like, 15 to 20 grams of protein, depending on like how big the shrimp is. But basically a serving of shrimp is about, you can just say it's about 18 grams of protein. So you're not only getting in more protein, but you're also saving a little bit of carbs and fat calories to place elsewhere. And in that case, for your lunch, you were still getting in your other sushi rolls and getting in everything else. So that's like a little tactic that would have helped get in more protein and not have set you over in fats and carbs. And for your dinner, that could have stayed the same with what it was, and that's totally fine. And honestly, the only other thing I would have done, instead of the cheese at the end of the day, I would have replaced it with a lean protein source like a yogurt, or I have these like protein, like chocolate milk protein things that I like. But whatever is like a lean protein that you could have added in at the end of the day, just because your protein was low in your overall day. So that's what we're aiming at, was to up your protein and stay in the same amount of calorie range that you were in, but kind of just rearranging the macros. So one thing I like people to pay attention to in the very beginning are fat dense foods like cheese, oils, peanut butters in general, stuff like that. Things like avocado, because in small portions, they are high calorie and high fat grams. So it's really easy to go over your fats. And especially when you're having, a substantial lunch and breakfast with, like sushi or things like beef and steak. We don't want to have higher fat meals for every meal. So some things I like to really keep a close watch on and make sure that it's not going to set you over with things like oils and peanut butters and stuff like that. But honestly, the Baby Bell cheese, I think that was probably like 7-8 grams of fat, which isn't too much. But because you were still low on your protein, I would have just tried to add in a lean protein source at the end of the day, like a yogurt, a Greek yogurt or something like that. But yeah, that's it. I'm going to definitely do another macro assessment, but I don't want to do it until next week, just because we have other things that we need to focus on and catch up on. But I hope this helps. And each week it'll help more and more with different ways and seeing the different food logs that you had and your food patterns and the different types of foods that you ate. And just basically seeing ways to tweak it and to add in some things and to maybe make this portion smaller and add in this later on in the day and to better hit your macro ratios. And each week you'll learn more and more and you'll see more and more with all of that, and it'll make more sense. So if this was confusing, it might have been confusing, but just let me know what didn't make sense. And I promise as we go, it'll make more and more sense. But I hope this helps, and we'll touch base soon.